Hello Scene Peepers. Welcome back to our channel. We hope you enjoy our videos so far. Today I would like to share a 2019 American romantic drama film called 5 Feet Apart. Spoilers ahead. Take care and enjoy. The plot of this film focuses on the life of cystic fibrosis, CF, survivor, a teenager named Stella Grant. Stella practically lives in the hospital almost all along her life, waiting for a lung transplant. She is a cheerful person, has a good sense of humor, and is full of hope. Some of her friends sometimes come to pay a visit to the hospital and they have fun together. However, as a CF patient, her activities are so limited. To keep herself entertained, Stella also opens a YouTube channel and occasionally broadcasts her treatment progress. The hospital nurses, Julie and Barb, sometimes also appear in her videos. Stella also copes with her illness by trying to maintain control of her daily regimen, taking her medication religiously, and following doctor's orders precisely. Because Stella also has OCD, which makes her desperately want to keep everything in control, she has a to-do list and lives every day strictly according to it. In her leisure time, she enjoys reading and coding. One day, when Stella goes upstairs to greet a newborn, another CF patient named Will Newman follows her. Unlike Stella, Will is a pessimistic rebel. Will has B. Kaposia disease. He is enrolled in a treatment trial, but the infection disqualifies him from receiving a lung transplant. So he just enjoys his life and ignores his treatments. Their first meeting outside the newborn room isn't very impressive. Will's attitude somehow irritates Stella. He then leaves after Barb comes to remind them about the rules for CF patients. Because of their compromised immune systems, patients with CF shouldn't get closer to each other than 6 feet. Will, who wants to know more about Stella, starts to watch her YouTube videos. He seems to start having a crush on her. One night, while talking to her friends via video call, Stella sees Will sitting at the edge of the hospital's roof. She thinks Will wants to commit suicide, so she goes upstairs to stop him. It turns out that Will is just enjoying the view. Stella is angry seeing how careless Will is taking his treatment. Even after a long argument, Stella can see that Will has no interest in managing his medication, and no matter how much Stella tries to ignore Will's attitude, the control freak side of her can't let him go. The next day, when they meet again outside the newborn room, Stella admits to Will that the fact he doesn't follow the regimen messes her up. They later reach a compromise. Stella will help Will do his treatment. In return, Will only asks her for permission to draw a picture of her. One night, Will meets Poe, Stella's best friend. Poe has always been with Stella since they were both young. While sharing a brief conversation with Will, he states that although he loves Stella very much, they can't get involved in a romantic feeling since Poe is gay. Over time, Stella and Will begin doing their treatments together. They eventually get to know more about each other and fall in love, but can't get closer than 6 feet of each other. One day, after exercising in the gym together, Stella finally lets Will draw her, and she also shares a small part of her to-do list with him. He draws a cartoon version of her. While talking via video call with Stella, Will asks her who did the lung drawing, which is hanging on her room's wall. Stella says that her older sister, Abby. After that, she tells Will they don't have to share their stories and hangs up the call. After checking Abby's social media, Will eventually finds out about Abby's death. It is revealed later that Stella lives with survivor's guilt after Abby's death, because she thinks that she is the one who is supposed to die early. She also becomes more sensitive and furious every time Will mentions her sister. One day, Stella's G-tube becomes infected, and she has to undergo surgery to get it replaced. Stella must perform the procedure alone because Abby is dead. After learning about Stella's surgery, Will sneaks to her room before the surgery. He shows up to care for Stella, and he sings her the song Abby always sang to her before surgery, so that she doesn't feel so alone. Nurse Barb catches Will as he exits Stella's surgical prep area. Barb tells him a tale of 2 CF sufferers who died after falling in love, breaking the 6-foot restriction, and contaminating one another. That's why she has been very strict about CF patients who get too close to each other. Will later realizes that he loves her too much to put her at risk, so he tells her he can't see her anymore. Despite Stella's effort to bring their gap closer, Will stands by his decision and he destroys himself day by day by doing so. On the other hand, her failing romance with Will also affects her friendship with Poe since she pushes everyone away. Stella becomes agitated and enraged, but ultimately decides to try everything to make up their relationship. Stella posted a video, explaining that she is willing to take even a small chance to be together with Will. She decides to reclaim the foot that CF took from her, and she carries a pool cue that is exactly 5 feet long, so she can keep Will at that distance. As Stella agrees to give herself a chance for love and takes the risk, Will also agrees to try. One day, Stella and Will go on a date for a whole day. Stella brings the pool cue and they spend the day together happily. They talk heart to heart and are honest with their feelings. Stella tells Will that she never has sex because she is insecure about the scars on her body. Both Will and Stella look eager to touch each other, but they are bound by that 6 feet rule. They then strip themselves to show each other their treatment scars, before later jumping into the pool to swim together. It is probably the happiest time in their life. That night, Nurse Barb finds out that both Will and Stella aren't in their room. She searches for them everywhere because she is worried. Poe later informs Stella that Barb has been back in the hospital. She and Will then get back to their room before Barb catches them together. On their first date, Stella finds out that Will turn 18 tomorrow, so she has to think of the best way to help him celebrate his special day. On Will's birthday, Stella organizes a surprise party with Poe and her friends' help. Poe agrees to help and cook for them. They have dinner together, take pictures, and enjoy the day before Barb catches them and dismisses the party. After catching Poe, Stella, and Will at the party, she decides to transfer Will to another hospital. Not long after the party, Poe collapsed. Despite the efforts to save his life, Poe dies. The death of her best friend left Stella heartbroken and devastated. She regrets that she was never able to hug Poe even once because of CF. Stella later invites Will to leave the hospital in defiance of CF, so that she can finally fulfill her lifelong desire of seeing the city lights. She says she has always wanted to live her life to the fullest. At first, Will suggests they take a cab, but Stella is being stubborn and wants to walk. It is the first time Stella and Will hold hands and keep their distance to a minimum. They later spend the night together by laying on the thick snow and skating with their boots on the frozen lake. Will then tells Stella that he loves her and she tells him the same. They nearly kiss, but the 6-foot restriction still lingers between them. While away from the hospital, Stella receives a text that her lung transplant is en route, which she ignores. The hospital is then able to reach Will, and he determines to take Stella back for her lung transplant. She tells Will that she doesn't want it. When arguing with Will, she accidentally slips and falls through the ice of a frozen pond. She struggles, but is near death when Will reaches into the water and pulls her out. He performs CPR on her to save her life, even though saliva contact is extremely risky for 2 persons with CF. After making sure that Stella can survive, Will collapses. Both of them are brought back to the hospital. In the hospital, Stella still fights and says she doesn't want the lung transplant. She says the transplantation means nothing without Will in her life. However, Stella then agrees to undergo the surgery after Will asks her to do so. Before surgery, Will tells Dr. Hamid that he gave Stella CPR. Will fears that CPR he gave her may have infected her with B. cepacia. But Stella's lung transplant goes smoothly, and miraculously, she hasn't contracted B. cepacia. Meanwhile, Will learns that the drug experiment he had been participating in hadn't been successful for him. Before leaving the hospital, Stella's parents, Will's mother, the medical staff, and nurses assist Will in setting up the lights outside Stella's room while she is still under anesthesia from the transplant. When Stella wakes up, Will decides to say his last goodbye to her and confesses his love for her. He tells her that he always wants to stay with her, but he wants her to be safe from him and that's why he chooses to leave. After confessing his love for her one more time, Will leaves. Stella's mom also gives her Will's notebook, which contains pictures he made of her and her pals when they were hospitalized. The last picture of the book shows Will's master list, to love Stella forever. At the end of the movie, Stella records her new video after her surgery. She says that she needs a touch from the one she loves almost as much as she needs air to breathe. The video shows how much she misses Will and how much she wants to be close to him, to touch him. What do you think about the movie, peepers? Leave your comments below. Subscribe to this channel for more movie recaps. Please like and turn on notifications to support this channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.